they're favoring mothers, but what actually tends to happen in DCF and in child welfare agencies is that the responsibility all falls on the women. And they'll have a service plan with 14 or 15 things for the women to do, and maybe one or two for the fathers. And part of it goes with I think the sort of social stereotype of the 1950s where women were supposed to be home devoted to the children, men were supposed to be off working and not that engaged with families. And we had generations of kids who grew up sort of feeling they didn't connect as much with their fathers as they would have liked to. I think that's begun to shift beginning in the 70s and 80s. At any rate, so that the fact that we're not working fathers doesn't really benefit mothers. It just dumps responsibility on them, it overloads them. And there's been some interesting research that begins to talk about the benefits of the involvement of fathers, even when they're not living at home. About a year ago, you probably all know about this, that there was a study about what is the impact of when you have a father who's not living at home, and they have an adolescent kid who's getting into delinquency, which means they're getting into trouble. They're running around, they're using drugs. And what they were looking at is what happens when these fathers who are not home spend time with their kids. And what they found was that the more time they spend with their kids, the less involvement there was in delinquency. There was a one-to-one kind of relationship with that. They also found, curiously, that African American men in particular, when they found that their kids were getting into trouble, they, unlike the white men in this group and the Latino men, and I'm Latino and I wish that my folks had come in first, but it didn't happen. But the African American men increased the amount of time that they spent with their kids. And they had an even greater positive effect. So there are things about culture and how men understand fatherhood that the agency needs to understand. But for all men, but there's also the bigger story is that even fathers who are not home can bring real benefits to their kids. And we, by this I mean DSF, should have a role in that. And that's what I'm pushing in the agency. Just to give you another example, there was another piece of research that was done which looked at cases in Massachusetts among 3 other states. And they were looking at situations where the father was not at home and the kids were in foster care, which is a classic situation in DCF, which often leads to the eventual permanent removal of the kids and placement for adoption. So it's not a case of fathers losing children, it's fathers and mothers losing children, which happens often. At any rate, what they found was that when these fathers when they had instances of fathers who were not at home, who were highly involved, even when their kids were in foster care, one, the foster care stay was shorter. And the shorter that is, the better for children, because by and large, children don't do better in foster care than with their own kin. Number 2, they found that when the children were returned to left foster care, they didn't go to adoption, they went back to their families. And even often, when those fathers who were not at home were involved, the kids ended up sometimes back with the mother because they gave a respite with the mother. That fathers felt that it's okay, she's more bonded with them or whatever. In those instances, in some instances, these were not fathers. These were not cases where people are having a lot of conflict. These were cases of relationships that just didn't work out. And in some instances, the kids ended up with the father's side of the family. So, in the child welfare world, kids with families do better than kids in foster care. Not to say, I don't know if there are people here who've been foster parents, not to say that foster parents don't do an excellent job, but by and large, kids do better with kin. So that's another example where fathers who are out of the home, when they're present, have a positive effect on their families. I want to say, I'm going to stop talking at you, just open up for questions and have a discussion. people have some negative stereotypes about mothers, particularly, like in our world, child welfare. I'm still used to saying our, but anyway, in the child welfare world, to say that a parent is overwhelmed is like a trouble signal. And I'm a grandparent. I've raised 2 kids, and there were times when I felt overwhelmed, even though I was most of the time with another person taking care of them. And so when I hear that that's a trouble signal by itself, I get a little worried. So there are moments where I think everyone goes through that. I don't think that happens. So that gets applied to mothers. A lot of what happens with men is that signs of anger. Well, there are 2 things that happen in DCF. One is that there's a lot of men who don't want anything to do with the AIDS. For some strange reason, they don't like DSS or DCF. And we all know why. So they make themselves scarce. In fact, it should be our job to seek them out and work with them and support them in their involvement with the kids. Number 2, some of them, when they hear that DCF is involved, are angry. And people interpret anger as threat. And in fact, you can have someone who's angry at you and screaming at you and not really be threatening. Am I making sense of this? And this is something that there are people in the agency who get this, and there are people in the agency who don't. So I do trainings where we do recreations, situations where a father, we do a scenario. We set up a scenario where a father has had his children removed while he's at work. Something happened while he was out. Something happened with his partner. He's at work. They can't find him. The police come to the house. They can't find them. The children can't stay with the woman because she's intoxicated. The children are removed. He just gets a message to call DCF and calls them, and he says, they say to him, come over at 9 a.m. tomorrow. In this scenario, which is just taken out of a real life example, the father gets to the office at 9 in the morning. He's desperate to see his kids. His wife is in a detox, and no one's there neither. And they don't know who should speak to him or whatever. What's happened in the meantime, which he doesn't know, is that there's been another emergency. Kid got hurt, and the worker was supposed to meet with him, and his or her supervisor are involved, and things fell apart. Someone should have notified his dad. The dad waits half an hour, 45 minutes in the front office. Eventually, he's yelling. Eventually, the clerk, the person, the attendant at the front office there, and the dad begin to get into a beef. They talk about calling security or something, so he leaves. Then he gets a call the next day. Worker says, I'm sorry, we had a problem. Can you come back tomorrow at 9 a.m.? He shows up, and the scenario that we do is that the worker standing, walks in somewhere, the worker's standing there, and he walks in and he starts yelling at the working meeting, where are my kids, what have you done? Why did you mess me up yesterday? And he's really yelling. And there's a certain number of people, workers, who when they hear that will say, okay, we need to talk to him. Because we've done something wrong, we need to acknowledge that we made a mistake, tell him we're sorry, explain what happened, let him vent,